Welcome to NASPA Tonight. I'm your host, Josh Greenway. This is the weekly Facebook live show where we talk about all things Scrabble. We have a couple of very special guests tonight, Hannah Lieberman and Josh Sokol. So I'm going to get through some headlines really quickly, and then we'll bring on Hannah, and then we'll bring on Josh. So number one, there were a couple of big tournaments that happened this past week. There was Poughkeepsie, and there was the Purple and Green out in Ohio. So number one, we're going to talk about Poughkeepsie. The big winner there was Mac Miller, took down Jackson Smiley. They were 1-2 in that matchup in TWL. We had over in Collins, we had Benji winning another Collins tournament. This guy is really on a roll, taking down Stefan Rao. And then if we go out to the Purple and Green, the reason they call it the Purple and Green is because of everybody dresses in purple and green. So here's Jason Idelsky winning, and he actually messaged me to say that my graphic here was incorrect, that it was 10-3 holding off a bunch of 9-4s, but he won TWL. I think a lot of people were surprised that he was playing TWL and not Collins, but speaking of Collins, we had Dorcas Alexander winning that tournament there. So those are the headlines for this week. We are first going to talk to Hannah Lieberman tonight, who has a lot on her mind. And then we're going to talk with Josh Sokol about achieving, maybe losing temporarily, holding on to a 2,000 rating. But the first thing I want to do is introduce our very special guest. I was lucky enough to go do some social media coverage in Poughkeepsie this past week, and we did an interview with our next guest, who is Hannah Lieberman. Some of you may have seen that on Facebook. That's been getting actually a ton of views there. So we are going to talk with Hannah right now. Hi, Hannah. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thanks so much for joining me, and I want to say thank you to everyone who has tuned in here. I'm, as always, doing my best to watch the Facebook comments when people tune in. You might be tuning in here on the NASPA page, the NASPA group, on the WESPA group, or Scrabble Snippets. If you want to participate in comments, try to find your way over to my personal feed. That's where I'm going to be watching for comments. So hello to David Kleonski, who says hi to Hannah.
Hi, David.
and Mad Palazzo, who we're hoping to have on the show live one day, also says hello. So the first thing that I want to cover, I want to encourage people to watch this little interview that we did. I had a lot of fun doing the interview. I hope you did too.
It's a testament to the fact that my brain does not think linearly at all. It's as jumbled in here as it comes out here. There's like no filter happening.
I see. Well, I wanted to give everybody a little preview. If you haven't seen the video so far, this is a cut down version to about 24 seconds. So here it comes, okay? Here we go.
Hi. My name is Hannah Lieberman, and let me tell you what happened. Because I count the K as a power tile just because it makes me feel better. What am I forgetting? I am in acting school right now. There's no room for Scrabble words. Maybe someday I'll be old and I'll have forgotten everything. So maybe it is my mom's fault that I'm always losing. This is a metaphor and not actually neurologically accurate. And I was like, well, fudge. What am I going to do?
So there we go. Some of those comments may have been taken out of context, but I enjoyed putting that little clip together.
They weren't, though.
What's that?
They weren't taken out of context. That's just how I ramble.
There we go. So I've been waiting to have you on, Hannah, but the truth is you've been on NASPA Tonight many times before. Do you know how many times you've been on NASPA Tonight?
Ooh, I don't even know if I could ballpark it. Somewhere between 5 and 500 is my goal.
That's the number fits right in there. I think it's about 8 times before, either 7 or 8. I didn't go. Yeah.
Statistically accurate.
Exactly. But I agree. That's the best guess yet, because normally I ask people if they've been on the show before, and they have, but they have completely blocked it out of their mind.
It hasn't been that dramatic yet.
So anyway, I always appreciate your help. You've done appearances when we've done the show live from the floor of the Nationals, which I'm hoping we'll be able to do again in Reno. We'll see what happens. Now, as I've said, we were just in Poughkeepsie. You were playing the tournament. How do you think it went?
I don't know if you can really call it playing. Is my way of summarizing my performance. No, actually, it went far better than it had any right to, because unlike so many devoted Scrabble players, I study not at all. I think I actually regress. And so I always just go to tournaments not expecting to do anything, and then anytime I win a game, I'm like, oh, really? Okay. And I won 6 games, so I'll take it. That's almost
Nice.
even. I was near the bottom of the division, so a lot of really good games, and yeah.
Well, I think that that's actually one thing that we share in common, is not studying and not really placing performance at the top of our priority list when we go to tournaments. So now I like to go to tournaments because of, all the Scrabble people there, and I was in Poughkeepsie to do social coverage and stuff like that. Now, you were in Poughkeepsie for another reason. Your mom was there. So how about you talk a little bit about that, and just how does that trip come about? You're both free at the same time. How does that go?
Ding, you got it. That's basically finding a time when Katja Lezen and Hannah Lieberman are both available is a rare, rare gem. And I just started spring break, and my mom was up here in New York for business, and we had this beautiful moment of wait, I could attend the Scrabble tournament. It's very rare. And I just recently moved to New York. My weekends are very busy. And the same was true when I was in college, which had been for the past 4 years. So I think I should amend my previous statement, which is, I did study a lot. It just wasn't Scrabble. When you've been studying all day and you have a little bit of free time, that then further studying doesn't really top the charts for extracurricular activities. And I work on the weekends, and I usually have rehearsal on the weekends and all that jazz. And so finding a time when my mom and I could both travel somewhere is a beautiful and miraculous thing. So yeah, I think just as much of the joy is just sharing a hotel room with my mom and watching movies and eating breakfast together, and just spending a lot of quality time.
Well, that's lovely. I wanted to ask about how, obviously, Katja is a accomplished player. So you grew up around Scrabble to a certain degree. Tell me a little bit about what that's
I grew up around Katja, and I was some may say it was my whole childhood. She has given me many great genes. Weirdly shaped toes, my height, and a very competitive spirit. That's one of the things my mom gave me. And we have this habit where when we're home together in North Carolina, where we'll say, let's play, 2 games of Scrabble and 3 rounds of Boggle, and whoever wins the whole spiel gets to pick what movie we go see tonight. And then we'll end up saying, okay, 2 more games of Scrabble and 1 more round of Boggle, just to make it fair, because you got the tiles that time. And then we'll have played so long that by the time we determine a winner, we're long past when either of us can stay awake to go watch a movie. So we end up spending the entire day playing games against each other. And we're not the kind of family who's okay, well, we'll look it up in the dictionary and we don't care who wins. No. We're a competitive family with house rules. It's intense. It's intense in the best kind of way.
Nice. Well, I love that notion of the family really taking kind of that competitive spirit. Drew Smiley says in the comments that all the Smileys love Scrabble. I don't have that experience. No one in my household plays any Scrabble. I think I played my brother once, and that was about it. But anyway, I love that picture. So let's. Go ahead.
We use the expression a lot in competitive Scrabble, like, oh, I'm not that great, but I'm good for a living room player. But like, if your living room player is competitive Scrabble players, that whole adage doesn't work anymore. It's like, I'm actually pretty mediocre for my living room because I have the rest of my family playing in my living room.
Nice.
Table Scrabble, don't get me started. My mom can beat me while she's like making a bisque. Yeah, she's very good at multitasking.
Very good. I also want to shout out to Josh Jr. there in the comments. That's pretty funny. He said, I drew Smiley out of the bag once. He's saying that too, Drew Smiley. It's a Scrabble pun. It's fantastic. So let's talk about your move from North Carolina to New York City. I feel like this is the kind of move that they've made movies about. Like a Reese Witherspoon kind of like going from the country to the city.
Olsen twins kind of deal. Like,
sure.
I don't know if I'm more Mary-Kate or Ashley, but something along those lines. Like Hannah takes New York, and then like her stay here gets her bag stolen, but nothing dramatic like that has happened. It's actually been lovely the whole time.
Nice. Actually, it's funny you bring up the Olsen twins. I just recently learned that Elizabeth Olsen is not one of the Olsen twins.
But what a great unintentional segue you provided me, because Elizabeth Olsen went to the school I'm going to.
Fantastic. What school are you going to?
I feel like you might have planned that, because that was a really seamless transition. I go to Atlantic Acting School, where she is an alum, and it is, okay, we're good. It's an off-Broadway theater company's full-time conservatory, and then it's also one of the conservatories where NYU BFAs go. But I'm in the full-time conservatory. It's a 2.5-year program. It's like Monday through Thursday, 9 to 5 classes, plus a whole bunch of rehearsals. So it's kind of like takes over your whole life, and it's awesome. Yeah.
Well, anyway, I think that's fantastic. I think anytime we've shared the small social media screen together, you can really tell that you're like an innate, natural performer. So this is obviously a career that you're pursuing, right? And so what are your goals there? Is it Broadway? Is that where you want to make your living in front of a live audience on the boards, so to speak? Or is it sort of acting more generally? I'm curious.
Yeah, I think at this point in my very limited career, I would do anything that paid me. But no, the ultimate goal, I love the stage. I primarily have experience as a stage actor. I think there's nothing more thrilling than being in front of a live audience. But I also am really interested in exploring on-camera work and possibly voiceover work. There's so many different avenues you can take as an actor, especially in New York. I, in fact, just got an interview to lead ghost tours, which is like a great job for an actress, like going around telling spooky stories. So there are a lot of things you can do with an acting career. I work at a craft studio on the weekends and throw crafting birthday parties for little kids, and that is a whole lot of acting, because it's a lot of we do puppet shows and treasure hunts, and I put on voices, and also a lot of just like, wow, your art looks so good. Wink,
Well, that's great, and I love the notion of there's the whole sort of working actor thing where things come together from a number of different perspectives. There's another Scrabble player who would probably befit that. He's a buddy of mine named Jonathan Watton from up here in Toronto, and he's appeared in film and TV, but also stage, also voice work, also commercials, and you've got to have a wide portfolio and a lot of flexibility. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and you kind of have to take what comes to you. It's like a very unstable career path, which is hard because despite being someone who like did improv in high school and tends to wing things a lot, I actually really love a good plan and to-do list, and you just kind of can't do that with acting. And and like Actors Equity, which is the union for stage acting, is one of the only unions in the country where most of the people who are union members aren't working at any given time. It's like the most that's like actually true. And you have to like work a certain number of equity shows to get the healthcare benefits. It's very like pressured and strategic and kind of intense.
I see. Well, you've got a fan over here. As Evan Borowski says,
well, I'm not that.
You should replace.
Like Hannah Lieberman of NASPA Tonight. She's been on now 9 times. So.
Well, he's saying you should take over as host. That's what Evan thinks you should take over as host. That's what his Facebook comment was.
Oh.
Anyway. Wow. But unfortunately, this would be another unpaid gig.
How it goes. Got to spend money to make money, something like that.
Okay, so anything else you can tell us? You said nothing dramatic happened in terms of moving to New York City. What's your favorite part about the city? Like, forget about career or whatever.
I still very much feel like North Carolinian, which is funny because I don't really have an accent, and I never identified as Southern while I was living there. But I've been told I have a really like Southern disposition. I think when I just walk around the city, like I look like a Muppet. I'm like, "Hey, Mr. Mailman," like it's kind of like bouncing around demeanor. But I live right by the L train, which anyone from the city knows is like a real risky move on my part, because the L was supposed to shut down. Now it's going to stay open, but it's closed on the weekends, and it's a whole thing. And I one time was riding it and got stuck in the tunnel between Brooklyn and Manhattan. And the lights went off, and we were stuck for like 5 minutes. And I turned to the person next to me, and I was like, the L. And she said, I know. And we both put our headphones back on, and I was like, am I a New Yorker now? I'm in New York now. I successfully complained to a stranger about the L train delays, and I just felt so one with the city.
Fantastic.
It was a great moment. And I've learned how to I used to talk to every single Greenpeace person who would come up to me, and now I've learned to be like, no, I'm busy. Just very big steps for me.
Nice. Well, lovely. So, okay, let me ask you this. We know Scrabble is not at sort of the top of your list, right? You're sort of Scrabble adjacent more than anything. It's a nice chance to get together with family and stuff like that. But is there anything Scrabble related coming up on the horizon for you? Like, is Reno in the cards, for instance?
Yeah. Ooh, it's like a gambling pun there. I like it. Okay, well, I'll say this. One, to everyone I know not from Scrabble, they think Scrabble is a huge part of my life. And I think because it's one of those dorky things you glom onto about someone where you'll be like, I don't know, that person's from Wyoming and that person plays Scrabble. It's like my thing, I don't know whose thing is Wyoming. That's a defining feature. The point is, everyone in my conservatory thinks I'm this Scrabble savant who's constantly playing and anagramming, which is not accurate at all. And they should see me at a tournament. I'm so very mediocre. But I do hope to play this summer. I'm hoping to get to nationals. And I just love nationals so much because I can't get enough of Scrabble. And I think 7 or 8 games a day is definitely not enough, and having a whole week of it is, if I'm going to play, I'm going to play, Yeah. It's if I'm going to commit my time to going somewhere for Scrabble, I want it to be a whole lot of games. And I'm not one of those people who takes a picture of the board or analyzes afterwards. I have no learning curve. I'm well, that one's done. Let's try it again. So it's so exciting to get to play so much in a row. And I love all the after hours activities, and I love taking up a big ballroom, and wherever we go, we always are the most exciting thing happening in the city that week, which I don't know if that's a good testament for the city. Reno's kind of let's take Las Vegas and make it a little bit more sad. But also you can't say you went to Vegas. I don't know. But when we go there, it's like they know who we are. You go into a restaurant and they're like, oh, Scrabblers. And you're like, you have this identity for the week and you have your little name tag. And I think that's so fun. And you get to like go to different meals with people and there's that talent show and it's just a good time. I love National.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to bring up was the musicale because you have made some memorable performances at the musicale. You were performing there with your sister, Eliza, I think last year. And it's amazing because our next guest is the sort of host and coordinator of the musicale. What do you love about the musicale so much?
It's just an eclectic group of talents. It's like, it's not all the same act. And it kind of feels like there should be a campfire or something, which would definitely be a fire hazard, but like sentiment-wise, just feels very like we're all just going around. Someone's got an acoustic guitar, and like it's very supportive, and kind of like a fun place to show off. I just love it. I love seeing everything that everyone does. Like, it's not just musical talents. There's poetry, and there are like monologues and acts of all kinds, and I just don't think you're ever going to find, it's like if I were to take a random person and put them into the musicale, they would have no reason to know why all these seemingly random people are connected and why we're all performing for each other. And I just think that's hilarious and awesome. Yeah.
For sure. Well, and that's kind of the cool thing about nationals, or certainly for me. Like, it's great that we name the national champion and, play 31 games, and we do the live streaming, which I get all involved in, and all that stuff. But just the aspect of everybody coming together, seeing friends, all that kind of stuff is really fantastic. I mean,
Scrabble's a diverse group of people, and you look around and you're like, what is it that has brought these people together? Like, what is it? I have a friend who's going to a knitting convention this weekend, and I was like, that's dorky. And then I was like, oh, who am I to judge me? I just love how our whole world exists. That's awesome.
Absolutely. So here's what I'm going to tell people. Number one, come to Reno. You may get to see Hannah there. Number two, take a look on the Facebook page or the Facebook group on the weekend. Fantastic interview by Hannah. I encourage you to check that out. Someone threw in
alarming. There are lots of adjectives out there,
Well, someone threw into the comments, Marg actually, threw into the comments, you're like a ray of light. I think that's what she said.
Thank you. Ironically, as a redhead, I really can't withstand rays of light.
So I would encourage people to check that out. You can always find past episodes of NASPA Tonight. I think the very first 4 of them feature Hannah. They are on the NASPA YouTube page. You can always find back episodes on this show on the NASPA YouTube page. And I'm going to throw one more plug in, just because I saw this on Facebook come up from your feed. I don't know if it was your final project, but you did a musical number on Facebook that was called like One Loose Screw or something like that.
Okay, 2 things.
Go ahead.
Real quick. One, I thought you were talking about my thesis, which is a musical that I wrote.
Oh, no.
That's on YouTube. It's called Hysterical. I think if you put Hysterical Hannah Lieberman, 45 minutes, it's a good time. I spent like a year on it. So, you can put 45 minutes on it. That's how I feel.
Good. I will watch it.
So that is a one-woman show musical that I wrote and composed. But Screw Loose is a song that I sang just for a senior day at graduation for all the kids who were taking voice lessons. And I had no voice that day. I thought, I got on stage and I was like, hi, my name is Hannah. I did not know if sound was going to come out. But then, I don't know, it's passable. I'll take it. And it's a fun song. It's from the musical Cry Baby. Great show.
Nice. Well, and very enjoyable. So definitely check those things out if you want to hear more from Hannah. Hannah, thanks so much for coming on the show tonight. Hopefully we can do this again sometime, and especially in Reno. We'll see what
Awesome.
happens. Okay. Thanks, Hannah. We're now going to move on to our next guest. Always exciting to talk with my good friend, Josh Jr. Let's bring him into the show. Josh, how are you?
I was hoping to say a couple things to Hannah. I didn't realize you were in New York now at an acting school. That's really cool. Really enjoyed. Okay, anyways, I'll just act like she's still here. Sorry, I'm a bit tired. I'm good. Yes, and I'm probably still gonna move to New York. There's so many people there. All the Scrabble players are there.
For sure. So New York is on your radar. What kind of time frame are we talking about? Or are we at the notion stage? Where are we at?
Okay. Well, since you have such good segues on your show, when I hit 2,200, I'll move to New York.
Okay.
But we're talking about a slightly lower number, aren't we?
I see. So let's talk about numbers for a second. You've spent much of the last year over 2,000, which is kind of a magical number. I imagine maybe you'll tell me it doesn't mean anything to you, but I've got to imagine it means something.
No, it means everything, Josh. I am only half the man I was a week ago. No, it's obviously super important to those who achieve it. Some maybe a bit more than others, but it's also this running gag is once you're at 2,000, it's 2,000 means nothing.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Hannah, by the way, says thanks, pal. So she got some of the comments.
Very good.
Yeah, so 2,000, obviously, your very good buddy, your BFF, Jackson Smiley, has really gone for it and really up.
No, he hasn't been 2,000 for a while. You should. So
it's got to be tough. So let me ask you this: in terms of, we were in Poughkeepsie together. We didn't do an interview because, quite frankly, we've talked on camera a whole bunch of times. So I wanted to get some other people on. But what was in it for you for Poughkeepsie? Obviously, it's a nice tournament. Cornelia does a great job, stuff like that. But it was going to be tough competition. So tell me about your decision making, because you got Mac, you got Jackson, you got Malik. I don't know who I'm forgetting, but that's sort of the headline group.
All right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so the people who ended up coming had nothing to do with it. The Mac, Jack, my competition, I guess you would say, in the tournament had absolutely nothing to do with the decision. On the surface, I can say that I've always wanted to go to Poughkeepsie. It's surrounding my birthday. Oh, spoilers for next week, NASPA Tonight, Joshua birthday. But yeah, the actual reason I went to Poughkeepsie is because I had purchased a bus ticket, a one-way bus ticket from Albany, New York. And that was back at Lake George last year. And then what happened is I was planning on going alone, but someone ended up driving down from Montreal, and I had purchased the cheapest ticket. Ticket was no longer cancelable with the refund. So I actually made them change the ticket for a small fee to March 17th, was it? Sunday night from Albany. It still had to be from Albany. So I guess I'm going to Poughkeepsie. So I'm going to Poughkeepsie and getting driven back to Albany partway to Montreal. And that is why I went to Poughkeepsie, New York. It was a stupid reason. I made a stupid mistake, and I have paid for it.
Well, Evan says in the comments 2,000 is just a number. But we all know that's not true.
Yeah, but so is pi. And how many people try to memorize pi as much as they can? What is just a number? Yeah, so is 13. How many apartments don't have a 13th floor? Evan, you're just, yeah, okay. Sorry.
My question is, did you make that connection to the bus? Because I heard there was a little trouble with the ride.
No, it was too many bad things. Too many bad things happened this weekend. But it was a great time. It was a great time. Yeah, no, I had all the time in the world to get to my overnight bus.
Fantastic.
I got home at 4 a.m. when I was working the next day at 7 a.m. It was just a beautiful time.
Yeah,
massively good time.
I think I walked in the door at 2:30 a.m. just because, Toronto's a little further than Montreal from that area.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm so
but
sorry.
at least, I didn't have to work till 9:30, so that helped as well. Now, you were talking about, okay, so the reason you went is you got this bus ticket. So let me ask you.
Believe it or not.
Obviously, one of the ways, and this is a little bit facetious, but I would tell Jackson this to his face. One of the reasons that he's cranked that rating up so high, up over 2,100, is, he picks and chooses some of his tournaments. And he'll hit some tournaments where, it's a good chance for marginal gain, but not huge loss. Do you think, you don't agree, it looks like?
No, Poughkeepsie is a prime example of that. He said he decided to go pretty late, and he was telling me he was worried. He's like, "I'm going to go 7-7. Someone's going to go 7-7." And I was like, "Yeah, someone's going to go 7-7. It's not going to be you, Jackson." Sure enough. I mean, let me just say something though. I went 7-7. I lost like 30 rating, under 2,000. I could have stayed at 2001, which I was last year at this exact time.
Yeah.
But I went 7-7 plus 700 and something spread. And for those of you who don't understand how much of a feat that is, you have to destroy the opponents you beat and only have marginal losses for that to occur. I've also had a tournament where I went 11-11 plus 1,100. And I just have one word for that. It's just variance. I didn't play well. I didn't play well, but
so
variance.
Can I blame variance on the last time I played nationals and went 19.5, 11.5 minus 200? Is that variance too?
Yeah. Well, you also do this thing where you like start losing and then you decide to lose even more. Like you make phonies, and I mean,
are you talking
do
about
that too.
Are you talking about Scrabble or life? I just want to get clarification. Drew Smiley, by the way, says, I've raised Jackson to be an upstanding individual who would never farm rating. So
have you not yet realized that this is not Jackson's dad?
This is Jackson.
Like, come on.
We've got a Noah situation going on here.
Please. You really think the Drew Smiley? Okay, no, sorry. Yes, Zip. You Drew. Yes, Drew. Yes, exactly.
Okay, so here's the thing. If you had avoided Poughkeepsie, you would have maintained your 2,000 rating for an entire year, birthday to birthday, right? Not that that's really the signpost. The signpost would probably be nationals to nationals, right?
No, that's the signpost. The world revolves around me.
Okay, gotcha. So what happened? Why'd you go 7-7? You're better than that. What
I only saw a few things, but those things were indicative of me playing very badly at key moments. I missed the word egomania through an O. I missed anteater, which is a word I have played twice in a row in 2 turns at nationals. I played anteater, then I played anteater through my previous anteater for a triple no and yet I can't seem to see it when it's very important against Mac Meller. So there's no reason. I'm just terrible.
So performance out of the way. Obviously, it was a fun place to go and hang out. Now you did the whole thing, which is always fun. The Airbnb with a bunch of other Scrabblers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about that, because maybe not everybody watching has had that experience, which I feel like, might be associated more with your 20s. But, I've done it. I'm in my 40s. But tell me about what that was like.
What does that say about you, Josh?
I don't know what it says.
Yes, I also spent a bunch of money on an Airbnb in Poughkeepsie because it was cheaper than hotels, I think, and it was going to be a really fun time, and it was a really fun time.
And there were like five of you staying there or something?
The exact number is something I wish not to divulge at this time.
I see. Why would that be?
Because my my host at this Airbnb might still, probably not, but they might be trying to scam me, and it might have to do with their security cameras in front of the house seeing more people than they would have wanted to see walk in to the Airbnb and hang out, when one of the rules is no parties or events, which is kind of vague. We weren't partying, we were just hanging out.
Yeah. Have you ever been to like a Scrabble party? Come on. That is not the same thing.
It was a very weird situation where they said that they found blood on the counter and that they were going to call the cops.
Oh my God.
And
that definitely sounds like a scam. That sounds suspicious big time.
I think I really needed to have chosen my words to respond to them properly, which I think I did, in order to avoid any possible
investigation.
No, just I don't think there was ever any risk of like getting a criminal record from having a blood stain. From not a real blood stain. It was we determined it was probably wine, but
or it could have been planted. It could have been planted.
There's lots of things that could go wrong, and I hope I've avoided anything like that. But it was a very eye-opening experience, guys. If you ever rent an Airbnb, make sure the person you're renting it from has obviously very good reviews, but also a lot of verifications, such as a government ID card, because they might not be the person they are claiming to represent. This is not words from any lawyer. I am the son of a lawyer, but this was my experience. Please be careful and don't bend the rules, because other people very late in the process of registering for a tournament decide they might want to stay with you and jump on board.
Okay, well, so I think that's a good PSA for people. On a positive note, sometimes those Airbnbs can go really well. We shared an Airbnb in Ottawa, and
it did go really well. Oh no, it was an amazing experience. It was just afterwards I had a little weird chain of messages, and yes, we had an Airbnb in Ottawa go on. It was a lot of fun, despite a couple of things. There's always a couple things, right, Josh?
But we threw 8 people in there. You couldn't say no to anyone, and the place probably could have housed 10 or 12 people.
Yeah,
this is crazy.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
It was a beautiful, beautiful time. Also, no parties. No parties. There were no parties allowed at that one either.
I feel like it's just natural. Whatever number they say in the thing, people are going to go over that number. Like, that's just an accepted thing for Airbnb. So what the hell? So anyway, all of you, are you going to Reno, by the way?
Of course.
Are you going to Airbnb it, or are you crashing at Kenji's? What's going on?
Probably crashing at Kenji Matsumoto's house.
Beautiful.
However, I might not play.
Oh.
I probably will, but I have some goals I would like to achieve before then. And if I don't achieve them, I will attempt to coax myself into not playing and being miserable, because I deserve it.
Do you want to share those goals, or is that not what you want to talk about?
It's just, they're kind of mundane, but yeah.
Okay. All right.
Nothing of note.
All right. So what's the plan here? You're now slightly under 2,000. Everyone expects you to be back up over 2,000 very soon. What's your next tournament?
Yeah, it might be in May. I've been looking at the calendar. This is really the only thing that screams out to me is the Boston area tournament, but I will not be able to attend because I'm going to a Scrabble wedding. Ooh.
Yeah, that's the one I couldn't get a ticket to. I asked
But
for
yeah,
I asked for
thank you
media
for
credentials.
Thank you for saying you expect me to be back
Oh.
soon. That's very empowering. There are other players that I'm sure you would not say that to. And there is a player that preceded me in losing his 2000 rating in NWL, and this player, Winter, was very vocal about how sad it made him feel and that he feels he might never be back.
Well, the one
Same
thing
with
I'll
Cesar. He hasn't been back to 2000 in a very long time. I'm pretty sure I'll get back before then.
Yeah, I think he'll be back soon. I do want to give credit to Winter. When he went down under 2000, I asked him for a picture where he looked unbelievably sad and was good-natured enough and had enough of a sense of humor to let me throw that on the show and talk about that he was now under 2000. So I think he's got a pretty good sense of humor. Cesar, on the other hand, whatever. He's been a great guest for us.
Yeah, also great sense of humor.
Yes, of course. He's the best. Did you see the skiing video that he did?
Yeah. You should just post that right now if you can.
I know. I don't think I can. I'm not set up for it.
Everyone wants to see Cesar fall.
That's right. So check that out on Facebook.
And he knows that. He knows that. That's why he posted the video. Anyway.
Beautiful. Okay, so you said in May. The interesting thing is the whatever the long weekend is in May.
Memorial Day weekend.
Yes, Memorial Day. You're going to be in Montreal, I imagine. You're not going to leave town. But there are 4 big tournaments going on. Chicago, New York City, Atlanta, and Montreal. Why do you think people should, out of those choices, why do you think they should come to Montreal?
Don't you want to have a fun time with yours truly? Come on, poutine. What more can you ask for? Come to Montreal. Beautiful. I am hypnotizing you. This is every year is so many other terms. Now there's one in New York City, which is really Connie Creed.
It's a long weekend. People can have them far distance apart. I think that's fine.
Technically allowed. Yeah, it's within there is a radius of I think some 500 miles or something where you're not supposed to have a tournament 200 miles.
200,
within a tournament within that 500 would be not enough, I think. But so I mean, there are protections, but are they large enough? I don't know. We'll see how the Montreal tournament attendance suffers.
I see. Well, Benji says he's looking forward to coming to Montreal and not having his car broken into. And James Curley says that you should go to Nationals and play Collins. So, there's that whole thing with the Uplands Cup and whatever. But instead of getting into that, I'll just say that's going to be a really cool weekend with 4, largish tournaments going on at the same time. I think I'm going to be doing social coverage at one of those tournaments. Well, what I really want to do, and I don't think there's going to be appetite for anyone to pay me to do this, but I was thinking about trying to attend all 4. Fly or bus overnight and different stuff like that, and really give people, paint the picture of how all these people are playing Scrabble and doing the things that they love in these 4 cities simultaneously. I think it would have been awesome.
Nobody sacrifices as much as you, Josh, to promote Scrabble. So I think that would be a very apt idea. However, I think you would be miserable and it wouldn't work out. But hey, we can ask Chris Cree, if maybe that would be a possibility, because you're not going to just pay for flights to do that.
No. It would have to
you need some sort of war chest for that.
Yeah, no. The way social media coverage works is it's actually a funded project. We sold the benefits of it. I don't know if we're living up to all of the benefits. There's a whole thread on Kenji's page about it, but The way it works.
We should talk about that.
the
Instead
way
of my issues.
I'm happy to talk about mine. I'm happy to talk about anything, but there is some payment. But like by the time I go down to Poughkeepsie, split a hotel room, whatever, like I think I walked away with $100 or something, something along those lines. So
wow, that's pretty good.
well, I hear you. Well, that makes sense coming from someone who didn't finish in the top 2. But okay, here's what I like about this conversation is that it's been a freewheeling conversation. Surprisingly, people are still sticking with us through this conversation. That's a testament to how entertaining you are. Do you have any last thoughts, though? Because I feel like we are all over the place.
Yeah, well, apparently we need to be more edgy, okay? So this is the beginning of something new, right, Josh? You're gonna have an edgy guest on every week now. I can't, like, the edgiest guest was the guest before me. Like I was very astounded by the fact that there was a female Scrabble player on NASPA Tonight. Like, do you realize, Josh? Like, this is what we've been asking for. You've actually provided us. Thank you, Hannah, for like. It must be really difficult to be entering this sausage fest as you have.
Okay, so let me speak to that for a second. Okay. Number one.
No, these are the last thoughts, Josh.
Number one.
You don't get to respond to
Number one, I would have Hannah on for any reason. Anybody who watches that interview, whatever, knows that
Hannah
she's
extremely entertaining.
Delight. Okay, she's a delight. There's no question about that.
Thank you, Hannah.
Secondly, last week we had Heidi Robertson on. She was great. We do our best to kind of get a representation of all different people, different rating groups, different genders, whatever it is. Sometimes it can be challenging, but believe me, that's a goal for this little Facebook Live show.
No. I'm trying to encourage you here. Don't get me wrong. Like, keep it up. It's just, I'm just in awe though. You're right, Heidi. I didn't even remember. Like, it's such a traumatizing thing to have this shift in demographic. Like, changes are happening. It's all for the better.
Boy, oh boy. All right. Well, we do the best we can here at NASPA Tonight. I do want to say one thing. There are some rumors swirling that there may be a little bit of a reunion on this set coming up.
Yeah, it had to be happening. I might come to Toronto to witness that, by the way.
Fantastic. Well, anytime you come to Toronto, you're on the show, for sure. Okay. Evan says to James that we've got to get you prepped for Alchemist 2020. And then Evan says something about different heights. I don't know what that means. Other than you're tall, I guess. Oh, you're right. We try to achieve a balance of so tall, short, real thin like you and guys like me. So we try to achieve a balance here in terms of whatever you call it, talent. There you go. Okay, Josh. Listen, thanks for coming on the show.
I'm very proud of you.
Thanks for coming on the show. You're always a lot of fun to talk to. And I can't wait to have you here in Toronto in studio. I can't wait to have you on the show again. And I think, people look out for Josh.
Guys, you should see his studio. It's everything you'd ever could imagine. It's quite incredible.
All right. Maybe we'll talk to you again when you're over 2,000.
Okay.
All right, buddy?
All right. Okay. Never getting over 2,000 ever again.
I forgot. I have 2 more quick segments. Okay.
Yes.
Why don't you?
All right.
Listen. It appears that you have nothing else to do, so you stick with me here for a second. And here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about some upcoming tournaments. We have BAT. You talked about that. That seems like it'd be really fun. I've been to one BAT. How many BATs have you been to?
Three bats.
That's a great.
Yes, that's awesome. The unfortunate reality is that it used to be in this amazing hotel that they could not, that Sherry St. John wasn't able to get. So there was actually a gap in the bat tournaments. But this hotel had all these amazing things. Like they had a piano, like 2 or 3 pianos, and I would just play them at night. But anyways, still, the Judys are running an amazing bat tournament.
For sure.
Bat to the Future. Please attend if you are not attending a wedding that weekend.
There is a big gathering that is starting to
Boston area tournament.
What's that?
Boston area tournament. I don't know if we've said that it's in Boston.
Oh, right. Yeah. Or I was just outside of Boston. But then we've got Knoxville, Tennessee. I think that list is up to like 60 people. There's a real
something like that.
Yeah,
I would be interested in going if I had won money at any tournament I was in the past month and a half.
See, I would love to go to that to cover it for social, but as we talked about the budget before, it can't work. The minute you step on a plane, it doesn't work anymore. Then I'm paying out of pocket. But Knoxville, that looks awesome. Houston, I mean, those Texas guys, they have like their whole different little thing going on down there, and they keep turning people out or getting people to come in. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Then we've got West Memphis, which is run by Josephine Flowers, and that's got a bunch of people going to it. So again, the South. And we've got Scrabble for Literacy, which is like a charitable deal that is coming up in Illinois. Those are all coming up in the next few weeks, so I would encourage people to check those out. I now want to get to my favorite segment of the show, where I get to wish Scrabblers who have had birthdays in the previous week. There's been some controversy over this segment where people want me to change it to wishing people birthday in the future. What do you think?
Well, if you were to start doing that next week, that means you could skip over my birthday, and I wouldn't be embarrassed when you said happy birthday, Josh. So I think that's a great idea for that reason alone.
Well,
in the future is a good idea. In the future is a better idea.
Why? Just because once you're past your birthday, you don't care? Is that the idea?
No, it's because once someone's already had their birthday and they're like, "Oh, happy birthday," it's like, "Oh, sorry, it's over, but thank you." It's like it's kind of a downer.
I guess I don't have to read these names then. Okay, let's get to the birthdays.
Let's do it.
Happy birthday to Eric Peters, Bob Jackman, Cecilia Ruto, George Sladowski, Joel Hess, Jeff Femino, Tracy Tabucci, Ellie Gangor, and Suresh Chinaya. I'm trying my best on these pronunciations, but happy birthday to all those people.
It sounds pretty good.
I'm working on it. Actually, happy
belated birthday. Sorry, I'll just correct him.
So we're gonna have to go to the future, but if we do that next week, it's gonna be a double cohort. Do you know what that means?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay. Well, not me because I won't be there, but yes, you could do a double call.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to think about it, and we'll see how that goes. But happy birthday to all the Scrabblers out there. If you want to have your birthday read out on NASPA Tonight, become a friend with me on Facebook. Believe me, you send me a friend request, I'm just going to say yes. And that's going to do it for this week. I want to encourage everyone to go out there, support your local directors. They're working hard so that you can have a good time playing Scrabble. And I want to thank Josh here for being on the show. I want to thank Hannah for being on the show. And I want to thank everyone who's watching for taking time. I can't believe the number of people who are still watching.
You're still here. And I'm going to say it again. And I said it last time I was on. Watch Scrabble content. Scrabble content. There's a ton of content put out for Poughkeepsie. It is highly entertaining, even controversial, but it is a lot of fun. Watch Scrabble content. Thank you, Josh, for the work you do to provide content. Content is what we need.
Content is king. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And thanks everybody for watching. And we'll see you next week with new guests and new topics next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Thanks, Josh. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.